We start out on this new road. No turning back. But we have our ancestors with us. We're going to continue to dance with them. Dreaming them. Calling them. Seeing them. We are becoming what we were.
It is part of that Maya prophecies.
7 triangles of light.
Keep walking. You are the spirit of Unapu. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unapu.
People who say that the gods made them from corn. They planned their lives according to the heavens. Well versed in astronomy, using a sophisticated mathematics, they calculated the movements of the night sky thousands of years into the past and thousands of years into the future. They knew that the universe moved in cycles. Their lives were ruled by the rhythms of the natural world. Planting and harvesting, birth and death, just as the great tree of life emerges from the earth.
Always they're connected. Science and religion.
In dreams, we learn from the Maya gods when to plant and when to harvest, when to set the fire, and when to do the corn ceremony.
What we're digging up, what we're coming up with is part of our history. And the men that lived here are some of the greatest men we've ever had. And it's a fact that we're getting to know more and more and more about the life of these people.
They still maintain their customs. They still maintain their ways of organizing their societies. And it's very exciting to see how much of the ancient Maya way of life is still alive and well.
Because American history does not begin in 1492 with Columbus. It begins in 200 BC with the first Maya king who wrote his name on a stone. What is happening now is the people who made these places, people like Yashpak or Bird Jaguar or Fakal, are getting back to their voices. They are becoming real to us and speaking to the people of the 20th century about who built this place and why and what they felt and what they thought about the world. These are not anonymous people anymore.
You are the spirit of Unapu. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unapu.
Yo, yo. Yo, yo, LA natives.
LA Natives community. Here we are once again. I haven't been here for what, a week since last. I missed the show due to the fact that my son turned 21 and wanted to be with him, and you know, that's just the way I am. But thank you for everyone for tuning in that day and holding it down with whoever was here, Sub One, Pradak, Armando. Everyone that was there that night, thank you for holding it down for my space. And, you know, just been, you know, reflecting a lot because I started realizing how much responsibility it is to have and speak for displaced natives. You know, it's a big responsibility to start advocating for people who have been suffering trauma for so long. So I've been reflecting on that this past week because a few situations have come up, and I just really want to treat it with respect first, and then treat it with the best place in my heart instead of my emotion and instead of my ego. Just know that LA Natives here was created to make a platform for all natives across Turtle Island. It was a creative thing. It's not something that's based on tribal rights or any of that stuff. It was just a name that came up that I felt related to the diverse native population of Los Angeles. And everyone who has been in this movement for so long understand that we all know that this land is Tongva land, Chumash land. We say that with respect and complete understanding that that's the way it is here. I don't know the whole story of those natives. I only know the stories of what I've studied. If I leave some things out, I apologize. If this name offends you, I apologize. But you're also talking to somebody who's displaced. I can't pull out my BIA card for you and show you where I'm from. But I know one thing. I'm from Los Angeles, and I am native. Period. I don't mean to disrespect anybody. So again, I'm kind of just reflecting on the responsibility of what it is to speak for a displaced community. A community that has been over and over again moved around and shuffled around and orphaned and this and that. So I wanted to address the show. I wanted to start the show off like that with first a thank you of gratitude to my community. Not only for just accepting the message that I bring here on LA Natives, but for letting me speak for you. And know that it comes from the purest of heart.
Absolutely.
Not a place of ownership. Because in reality, we're just experiencing life together. And enough with the division of things. We have enough people who want to divide us. We don't need to fractalize our own little communities into stuff that's just doesn't make sense. So I thought today I would open up the show with just gratitude for my community that listens to me. Gratitude for the people who have bought tickets to our show on June 25th at the Catch One. Gratitude for all the vendors that want to support a new movement. And this movement is non-judgmental. This movement, you don't have to prove anything other than your intention, right? That is the most important thing, is the intention, right? Just like our ancestors had an intention when they gathered in a community and built out sacred places. They had an intention with that. And that's all this is.
Well said, and everyone knows my stance on this end, on the production side of the LA Natives podcast, is ultimately it was derived off of the indigenous hip hop community.
Absolutely.
That
I'm a part of.
Yes, exactly. Your catalog is legendary, Zero.
Thank you.
And no one's going to tell me that Zero of El Vuh is not an LA native. There's no logic behind that, in my opinion. This is my personal opinion. I'm just a deeply rooted underground hip hop head. I'm a lifelong fan of great hip hop. I promote underground hip hop blog, and we're just so blessed to work with Zero of El Vuh and understand his catalog and his history in the vital Los Angeles underground hip hop community. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard road to be an individual that speaks on behalf of natives, because natives we're not all just one happy family. And that's my mission here with LA Natives, is that we all should just tear up all colonial references to anything. I understand we want to hold our traditions. We want to hold the people that that came before us in high esteem, but that happens in song. That happens in oral traditions and passing on the stories of these great people that lived in our community. It didn't require Uncle Sam's signature. And that's the one thing that I will fight till the grave that I don't need. I don't need their signature and I don't need their permission. But I have ultimate respect for everything and everyone. And I am sensitive to people's concerns. But I don't want to be divisive. I'm not. Don't ask me to come on to my show and be native and debate me. Because I'm not debating natives no more. I have too many other people that think we're worthless and useless, and bring those people here. That college-educated professor that says that Mexicans or natives are Mexicans or people of Mexican descent are not natives, bring him in here. But don't bring a native in here. I don't want to debate my people no more. I'd rather concede to your point. But you're not going to make me change anything. This is our community. And we suffered enough to not be able to distinguish who we are without any federal recognition. And
guys, the only reason why we continue to provide content for LA natives is because we understand that we've been able to build such a solid, organic listener base, right,
Yeah.
Zero? Like, shout out to all the fans out there. You know, it's diversity at its finest.
Yeah.
Right, Zero? We're getting engagement from all across the nation.
Right.
Canada, South America, overseas. I can't thank you guys enough for just listening to LA Natives podcast, right, Zero?
Absolutely. So I just want to end it with this, and we'll move on to our next topics, because we have other topics that are far more important than this, right? I just want you to know, whoever, whatever, individuals, groups, know that I love all Native people across all Turtle Island, whether you're federally recognized or non-recognized. I love you all. There's no division, even if you're not with me. You're still with me. You're my brother, even if we disagree. But it's not a nice feeling when you're already displaced and can't put a finger on where you originate from, so you have to just make Turtle Island where you're from. For a lot of us, it's like that. So, that's that.
Again, you know what? Thank you for everyone that bought tickets to the show.
That's
it's been so chaotic the last few weeks, right, Zero? Like, we decided to roll out this event, and then one thing led to another. It just, a lot of people started sharing it.
Well, I think
it took away a lot of my time, man. I'm kind of backed up. I didn't put up the OG Husky Radio interview yet, but that's my role tonight. I'm gonna be putting it up on Spotify. But it's our first event, and it's just like it just took off, right, Zero? And as an event organizer, it takes a lot from you, right, Zero? But it's my role to deliver for June 25th.
June 25th is a day that we're gonna just really kind of come together, and we're already showing a lot of support from different states, different areas of California, and our own local community that's been really, really integral. I mean, very, very motivated to share our stuff and go and buy our humble price, $5.
$5 ticket.
$5 ticket, man. You want to support more? Go to the door.
The RSVP flew out the window. Within 2 days, they were sold out.
Yeah.
The free RSVPs.
We're ready for a new movement. We're ready for new information. We're ready for a new school of individuals that just put out good content. And that content is based on our ancestors and their brilliance and their wisdom. Their wisdom came from what we call the Tonal Machio, the father-son, What does that sun do? It emanates light or information. It's such a powerful thing. And our ancestors tracked it. And not only did they track that massive star, but they tracked many others. And I want to get into it with my brother Daniel.
Here we go.
How you doing, Daniel?
Yeah, dude, I feel like I'm at a funeral.
Well, no, man. It's just
like shit.
I hope not. I hope I didn't come off that way.
Who died?
Welcome back.
No one died. It's no one died. It's just you just have to reflect sometimes, and
you know, man. Zero, can I share this with you? I feel like in the world, if somebody gives you 10 comments and say 9 of those comments are compliments and one of them is a negative comment,
right?
What do you remember?
Exactly.
It's and just, so I'm a teacher, so I remember that was one of the first things when I started as a teacher. I had to start to break that, you know, in people's minds that you can't in life, you got to choose who you're going to go see, who you're going to listen to, you know, where, you know, which flow you flow with. And, you know, sometimes people share those things and, you know, hey, homie, that's cool. You're native. I'm native. You're obviously a different tribe. You're obviously on a different, you know, just on something different, you know, because, hey, we all have a trauma of some sort. But, you know, some of us is what we do with that trauma, you know.
Right. And that's the whole purpose of this show is to help people deal with that trauma. If you're angry about it, okay, deal with it. You know, you can't stay in a state of anger forever. And me too. That's why I reflected on it. And I kind of felt like I don't want to go into a position where look, it's exactly how you just finished describing it, Daniel. You're not part of this tribe if you don't feel the same way that we do. It's like we're not forcing anybody to be here or making sure that we're keeping tabs on anything. We're just doing our show in a humble way. And trying to represent millions and millions of displaced people across the continent, not just here. The fact that it's LA natives is that Armando's from here. I'm from here. I grew up was born here. You know, it just happens that I'm, you know.
Well, I think too, Ruben, can I also comment on this? Is that I've seen in myself is with my own identity that to no longer verbalize American or America is a big step for people because, you know, we're before all that. You know, that's why native is the best word to describe me and who I am. And if someone else wants to say, hey, Dana, you can't be that. Well, that's their reality, you know, and that's up to them. And I don't accept that reality because I have my own reality. My own reality is that, like I told you, like in 3rd grade, clearly I was rejected as American. You know, they said, oh, Daniel, Mexicans, they're not American. I was like, oh shit. In 3rd grade, I was like, oh fuck, I'm not okay. So in 3rd grade, I already realized it. I already realized, fuck, America don't love me. They don't want me here.
And I'm glad that you kind of shared that story with us because it's like we have to be creative, right? And that's why I'm maybe in a little bit of a somber mode because I have to be creative about how I'm going to deal with this.
Hey, but you know what, Ruben? I mean, and that's I feel you, brother. At the same time, can I say is that like the reason I'm where I'm at is because my mother, was the seed of love, was the energy of creation that no matter how many people talk down on me, whatever, my mother was that love in me that I just knew, you know, that, hey, pobrecitos, she would say, you know, they just don't know me. And I was like, okay, man, that kind of tripped me out. Like she wouldn't fall into that, you know? And so, you know, and, you know, my mother's no longer with me, but I'm her, you know what I mean? She's my living, I'm her seed. And so, you know, and when I think about her, there's a somber part too, but there's also that, you know, in the Mexica world, we have, you know, visiting hours for the dead, you know? Right. But anyways, I don't want to sidetrack us, but yeah, Ruben, I think enough somberness, brother. Let's.
Exactly. You know, that's why I'm saying like that. That's why I thought today we'd make a statement and humbly, you know, offer our creative approach to it. Right. And the creativity.
We're still where we're from. We may be displaced, but we're only like a plant that got moved. You know, we're not from a whole nother. You know.
Yeah, we're still in our homeland.
Homeland. Our umbilical cord is still here in this ground. You know.
Yeah. That's how strong the prayer was, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask Daniel to come on because I think I had recently found out about a story of Quetzalcoatl,
Right.
And how this tiny snake named Quetzalcoatl uses imagination to become a feathered serpent, right? You probably know the story, probably don't. It was probably done in a metaphor by the Don Miguel Ruiz, but I liked the way he used imagination, right? And how he related it to the beauty and the science and the wisdom of Quetzalcoatl. And when I started thinking of that, I go, man, Daniel knows so much about Quetzalcoatl and Venus, the Venus star, right? And
Well,
then
I'll say humbly, I don't know. I know a little bit, Ruben. The thing is that most people don't know anything.
Exactly. That's
I would rephrase it, But again, too, it's to me, Venus.
I like the humility. I like the humility in that.
But I mean, the thing is, it's interesting. The universe speaks in such a beautiful manner, and if you just read the signs, it's like I was busting out this book today, and I was like, oh man, what are we going to talk about? And I looked, and the only one paper that fell out was it was somebody's review of my Quetzalcoatl lecture, like a few years ago. And I was like, oh man, we're on time, And fortunately, they said they liked it. And they liked the Nahuatl words. They said they were really. And so yeah, that because if you're going to share, a native concept or ideas, it's good to speak their language and to understand the words that they spoke and the meaning behind those things. Because, like you say, the planet Venus, but come on, really, the planet Venus is really, Quetzalcoatl. But it's Quetzalcoatl is probably one of the most profound metaphors in the Mexica, mind philosophy, because it's everything that's creation. And if you think about that, it's a very profound force in our belief, not only our belief, but our observation of nature.
Yeah.
How
everything in creation, right? It's like almost comparable to your imagination, right? Because in your imagination, you start to create.
Well, let's put Venus in its proper place, in its perspective, because it's also the West. Okay, it's the West. So what's the West in Nahuatl? Cihuatlampa.
Cihuatlampa.
Okay, and who's the Cihuat?
Oh, yeah.
It's woman.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's creation,
Yeah.
You're giving reverence to creator.
Yeah.
And what's Quetzalcoatl? Everyone has Quetzalcoatl. Everyone, like you will have a spinal cord. And then you have your umbilical cord was the first serpent that gave you life.
Right. Right.
So it's just everything that's Quetzalcoatl is everything that has to do with creation. The moment that you're born, the moment you come out of the birth canal, you take what? The wind. And that's Quetzalcoatl is the wind. All the forms, the spiral is, the middle of the Hunabku. You look in your thumb, or in the back of your head is that spiral, but it's also your belly button where everything spiraled and you began, and it's, but again, too, it's, that Quetzalcoatl is a beautiful creation, but it's also a dual creation, and I mean, because one of your son's name is Xolot. And so, that's the precious twin, and so, but let's not get sidetracked.
And that's Venus or Quetzalcoatl's night version, right? Like he's out at night.
Well, let me explain it this way, okay? They're twins,
right?
Okay? So they're twins. So what happens is that what Venus does is it spirals in a flower.
Nice.
And so because it spirals in a flower, you'll see it like in the symbol right here. Let's see, right there.
Yeah.
This right there, those two squares represent Quetzalcoatl, the planet Venus. Okay. Wow. And so I try to show you other places where you see the symbol. And here's one place. Pull it out here.
Oh shit.
Yeah. The circle's on the outside and the circle in the middle.
Wow.
And then, when you turn it over, it's got Cuautli, and then the Teocalli, and then it's got 9 and 13. It has all the numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I always, when I would give the lectures, I would always try to show people where all the symbols were. And then if you look at that symbol, that's a flower. And so that's the symbol for planet Venus, Quetzalcoatl. And so it's
It does an 8-year thing, right? It does
oh,
every 8 years. It does something, right?
well, here's the thing. You know, what's your son's name? The youngest?
Tlawis Mantecutli. But
Okay, well,
we call him Tlawis,
okay, and Tlawis means
light.
okay, well, light. So Tlawi,
Mhm.
Xcal, Cali is the house,
Mhm.
Pan is the place,
Right.
and Tecuptli is the man.
Wow.
And so, you think about it. So
The
that
lighthouse. The lighthouse.
the man's energy of
Man.
lighthouse, like, and so, and you think it gets alcohol, it's a feminine creation. So that's when the male energy integrates into it. And so it's also a metaphor for you think about Xolotl and Quetzalcoatl, because when you look out to the west, again, where Quetzalcoatl is, it's got a 584-day cycle. So it has a cycle that dates, from the beginning to the end, and it's a flower. And so that 584 days, it takes from, it goes to all the places in the horizon and to the middle, which makes that symbol, that symbol on the calendar right there is where it makes those 4 points, those are the 5 places it shows up. And so when you don't see it in the sky, that's when it's Xolotl, because it's hidden behind a planet or something. We don't see it. So they described it as a dual twins, and it's basically just making its movement. In the days that you don't see it, it's Xolotl, and when you see it, it's Quetzalcoatl.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's a beauty. I mean, the thing is too, when you look at that, it's like, okay, this is some really, profound. How did they know this? Well, we understand it because when you look at the Non-Machiotl, the Aztec calendar, there's 4 planets that we use to track, our place in the galaxy. Well, the moon and Venus are essential. And so I don't know if you know this, but your 8 years has to do with a ratio of 8 to 5. And you see it on the outside of the Aztec calendar. And what that ratio means is that, okay, I'm going to give you this, Ruben. Take 584 days, which is Venus, okay, and multiply it times 5. What do you get?
Times 5. Hold on.
Yeah. And then Armando?
Yes,
Are
sir.
you there, Armando? Could you do me a favor?
I had my phone close to me.
Okay,
I want to do that number. I want to do that calculation. Hold up.
And then I wanted Armando to do the other calculation, and if he could do 365 times 8.
All right. So
That's 2920.
what was mine, Daniel?
And then what'd you get, Ruben?
I'm sorry. What did you want me to calculate?
5 times 800. 5 times 584. I'm assuming it's going to be 2920.
2920.
All right. So do you see that Venus does 5 cycles while the Earth does 8 cycles, and they're the same time?
Interesting.
They have a ratio of 8 to 5, the sacred 13.
Wow.
Okay, now let's take it a step closer to the Earth. The moon has a cycle of 29.2 days. Multiply that one times 20.
584.
Wow. Okay, so, and here's something I'm going to throw out there right now. I'm just going to make it very clear for everybody out there. For these fools, that claim that the Aztec Mexica people had a leap year, okay, if you add that day to that time, you throw off calculations that begin a spiral of just bullshit, of broken numbers that don't exist. And so I'm a little bothered because when I hear, because I'm a scientist and I know the numbers are correct. And when you see people throwing shit on the numbers and it's like, hey, that's not right. And you just know, it's like, man, it's a different, that must be a different tribe. They must live in a world where, it's just, and it happens, Ruben, it exists. But we're the people that used this stone and we educated people about it. And the nice thing is it's based in math, it's science. And so.
And time. Right.
Right. But you can't really bullshit it. People will call you on it. And so it's, it's something that it's very.
It's almost like a combination.
right?
Yeah, it is. No, it's definitely coming. I mean, but you know what it is more, Ruben? It's you. It's your search. And I was told this that in my life, it would become, a place of knowledge for me. And it's true that the calendar has become, the stone has become a piece for me to look at my life and to really search it out. Because, like I told you, I'm 52 this year, so I've done a full shimulpili. I've done a full circle. And so in that circle, man, it's nice to reflect back and really changed moving forward, what I want to do and, what I've done. And so,
Mhm.
and again, really motivated, Ruben, by love, you know what I mean? And so,
It's
and I
really
want
more
to bring
along
it back
the
to
line,
that.
like your mom. Your mom wanted
Right.
to
Oh, Ruben. And the thing is, can I tell you, brother, and man, man, and what does destiny do to me? They take my mom and they leave me with my dad. They're like, oh, okay, fool. Now, it's like, oh, man. And so that was the thing, it's been a real humble experience, living and taking care of my dad. But I mean, it's just, it's something that you do. And I mean, man, it's,
It's indigenous. It is indigenous to care for your loved ones in that way as they get older.
well,
And
I think it's human,
yeah,
Ruben. And I think that, first and foremost, we were human, and luckily we
absolutely.
come from a human tribe, and so what I think is that a lot of times you get these people, they've been inhuman or been, as you say, displaced, but almost displaced out of their mind and their heart as well, which I think is the roughest displacement. Because, if you think back when you gave, or you're talking about what, Cuauhtemoc had told us, when
Right.
darkness had began, was to turn our homes into that place of harmony,
Hmm.
to find a place, and may it be away from the public, but a place where you could find your center and kind of like charge your batteries and,
Hmm.
and I mean, because recently I was thinking too, I think about my dad, and I think, man, sometimes that guy would kick my ass, but you know what, Ruben? Not once did I not deserve it,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
and I just think, it really, but I think it's different today, because if you love somebody, you can really, be honest and truthful with them. But I think that when you don't got love, like, man, because I've just met so many people that they throw what's out inside of them, and the shit
Mm.
that's inside of them, oh, damn, like, fuck, like, and
Yeah.
so it's just, people are in trauma,
Well,
what I
that's
mean?
that's what I love about our culture and what I've learned so far and how I've implemented it in my life, right? Like you said, I don't look at Trump supporters as these evil people. I look at their bodies and I see their inflamed stomachs. I look at their
Yeah,
eyes and their
yeah,
livers
yeah.
are bad, their kidneys are bad. How can you ever articulate a profound statement if your body is in such disarray? You know what I mean? Like I
Well,
don't I
you know
just
what's funny? You say that, and I think of this, and I don't know, man. I don't really. Fuck, I try not to watch too much TV, man. But
Mhm.
fuck, I love that. What is it? 2.5 Men.
Mhm.
And on one episode, the little kid was constipated, and
Mhm.
he was just a little shit, just the worst attitude, And by the end of the show, the maid finally figured out, fuck, he's constipated, he's full of shit, And it's like, oh man. And so the next day, the kid's happy as all hell. And I mean, I'm not
And
happy about Hollywood.
you look at Mexica culture though, Daniel, and they were
Yes.
they're like their diets were very strict
Hello, of
and
course, Ruben. I mean,
and
but my point
their
is,
whole
Ruben, is that,
society revolved around
but
from
Ruben,
what I've known and
imagine,
what we've talked about is
but
it
imagine all the
revolves
people
around
you,
recycling shit, like
right,
recycle
right.
everything.
But Ruben, the people you described are just physically full of shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, like, God, what an awful feeling. And like, you wonder why people have such bad attitudes, and you look, you think, oh my God, this guy needs
And that
shit.
I think that's what we try to do here on the show. That's what the show that we're trying to put together is to break what we're calling on alienators is breaking colonial perspective. In other words,
Right,
the
right,
perspective that this individual who was unhealthy physically, obviously, right,
right.
cannot formulate and articulate an opinion that's even fair. And you'll find that even in our own community,
Well, of
because
course. But I mean,
we
we're
struggle
not immune to
with
it.
that stuff with that stuff too. But when I start to talk about Mexica culture, I really want to highlight the fact that they were very, very intelligent, agriculturally intelligent,
Well,
water, like the way they used water, and
but
they
Ruben,
I mean,
it's kind of funny though. You're preaching to the choir,
yeah.
but I agree, and I would
Well,
take
I
it
mean,
as,
the audience really doesn't know the
okay. I
truth,
mean, because
you know.
I would say I remember, being in Mexico City, driving to Acapulco, and my cousin's car would break down and be like, "Oh, damn, dude, what are we gonna do?" And we'd go to this mechanic right here, and the guy looked like shit straight out of the Flintstones, you know? And fuck, the guy would just be like looking at it, okay, checking it out. Next thing you know, 10 minutes, he's got the whole shit taken apart, figures it out, doesn't have the part, but decides to like run a circuit, you know? And it's like, oh man, this fucking guy, like, you know, he had no, they say think out of the box. Well, dude, this guy had a bunch of boxes and circles all there. He just organized that shit and sent us on our way. And I was like, oh my God, the ingenuity. And I mean, back to what you were saying, Ruben, creativity, you know, creation. You know, Einstein said clearly, intelligence, an ounce, creation, a pound. You know, it's like, okay, that's, you know, that says a lot, you know, and that's one thing about my people. You know, the Mexica are very, very adaptable. You know, humans in general are resilient, but the Mexica are so adaptable because we're on our own land, we're on our own place, like we're in our own, you know. I mean,
that's interesting that you say that, Daniel, because I feel like, you know, everybody feels like, okay, these temples are placed in a certain position, right? But when I've went to ceremonies and they've dug anything into the earth, they leave these reminiscences of whatever, a feather, some flowers, copal, cacao bean, whatever. It's an intention that you're giving to the earth, this massive energy that just shoots energy straight up into the air 3 miles up. Now, imagine a massive structure placed. What do you think? They just built it like the Bank of America building? They just, you know, fuck it, we're just gonna build it here. No, there was a prayer there, dude.
Right. Ruben,
the cacao and all that. And so what I'm trying to get at is that's what magnifies what you're saying, is that we're still here. We're still with our mom. We're still with that prayer. It's just like we have to figure out the code. You know, we have to figure out.
No, I agree. And that's why I've accepted there's certain people that they don't get the code. They want to know the code. And, hey, no problem, dude. Do your own shit.
How do you feel about this, Daniel? It's like we've had these conversations before on the phone where it's like, you know, people are so stuck to book knowledge.
Yeah. Right? Book knowledge. What was the first thing the invaders did?
They fucking brought a book.
You know, they burned the book. You know? They burned all our books.
But they also brought a book.
You're right. They brought their book. But Ruben, they burned all ours. You know, they burned all our shit and said, okay, now we're starting. Because you could see in the glyphs, it's like the artist got drunk and fucking went to a party and said, hey, yeah, fuck now, we gotta have you guys draw right now. You know, like, oh shit. And shit just went bad. And you could tell because in the glyphs, when you see the sun as a smiley face in the sky, you know this shit ain't ours no more. You know,
right. Yeah, then it's just, you know, at that
right. And then I used to teach third grade, man, and I'd show the kids, and the kids would tell me, "Hey, teacher, look at that. That's not right." I said, "Yeah, you're right. That's not the sun." You know, and so what are they telling you? They're like, "Oh, wow," it tripped them out that they were being told. You know, it was they could already tell. You know, because I just had to just point it out to them. Hey, but you know, the sun's not like that. Like, oh,
I mean,
right,
I understand. Like, I completely understand. Like what you're saying about how they burnt our books, but those were not books. Those are like petroglyphs, right? Those are readable. Those are readable. They're not really done in words. You know, what I'm trying to talk about is how today's individuals, they put so much merit on institutionalized degrees and books written by. And that's what I'm trying to point out.
Ruben,
the events and with the show.
Saying, hey, who's got the best chain?
Yeah. Huh? What was that? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I said, that sounds like a slave saying, who's got the best chain?
Right. Exactly. That's what I want to point out to people is that there has to come a point with, like Daniel, like you accelerated your knowledge in Nahuatl, but it's not like you went, oh yeah, I went and studied at Cambridge and went to MIT, and then I went to Oxford and I finalized my doctorate in this.
Well, like, Ruben, why would I go to Oxford to learn about Nahuatl? You know what I mean?
Some people do. Some people, like, you know? I'm telling you right now. I'll tell you right now. The most renowned person that fucking wrote the book about the Mayan cycles or the Pleiades or something like that.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way is connected to that, and that's how scholars come back to us who don't study those things, who have broken colonial perspective, because colonial perspective is trusting anything that the European brought as an advancement to what we already had. We already had advancements that were far beyond European.
But
European
we have to, but look,
perspective.
we have to take what they stole from us and act like, oh, how happy it is that now you've done it, you created it, and then we have to flip it back, you know. And
Yeah.
so the thing is that, you know, remember they called this the New World, and fuck, we're already here. Like we'd already
Yeah.
been here, you know.
Well, that's
Fucking, we didn't
another
start
thing that
our
I want
time.
to tackle on in terms of colonial perspective, because we all automatically go, the Vikings were the first ones to cross the ocean, right?
Right.
The Vikings. Oh no, it wasn't the Vikings. It was Americo Vespucci, and we're all getting this information from books. From
Right,
books
right,
that are shoved down our in an institution created by, like, people from Los Angeles. They always refer to the missions, San Gabriel missions. Well,
right.
those missions were schools for orphan children to be indoctrinated into Christianity
Yeah,
and this educational system of
right.
you're a slave and you'll always be a slave. So what I'm trying to inspire in LA natives is breaking the colonial perspective, like you did, Daniel. You went to the horse's mouth. You went to Mexico and you
Right,
saw an elder who got passed on by another elder who got passed on, and they said, this is how you see the glyph. They didn't go, I'm a renowned professor at UNAM and
Right,
I've been studying
right,
with
right,
so and so.
right,
No, you
right.
broke colonial perspective by trusting your own sangre, by trusting your own heart, by trusting your own spirit to guide you to the truth. And it led you to math foundations that you're explaining to us on LA Natives, that a ratio of 5 to 8.
Well, the thing is, like,
See how it fits into all these places, right? It fits here, and it fits here, and it fits here.
trip out off of this, Ruben. And I was thinking about this recently. Okay, one of the director of the program where I studied, his name was Mariano Leyva, and you know, rest his soul, he's passed away, you know, since. But he was actually a senator, okay, in the Mexican government for the state of Morelos. So he made an active role in setting aside funds and making it important to respect native culture, you know, in the state of Morelos, which is, you know, where Emiliano Zapata is from. And so I look back and I think, man, could you imagine, Ruben, today in the United States, a senator or, you know, some governor or even any type of politician taking native culture and saying, okay, we're going to set aside money and we're going to research that, we're going to support this. Again, this is Mexico, so their origins are different than ours, but you know, this is somebody who started a school, and I mean, the school that I studied at, they looked like temples. You know, they were temples, and they were, you know, Quetzalcoatl.
Well, it sounds like they did something that most and almost 99% of all archaeologists don't do. They cannot reference the community that they're going and studying. In other words, if I go to a Mayan temple, and let's say there's a Mayan elder.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. There's a schism.
They don't go.
Yeah, right.
Hey, bring that abuelo with. They don't. The scholar.
No, right. No, they don't. They don't talk to that guy.
In university, they don't call that guy and say, "Here, sit down with me and explain to me what you know about this," because it's white supremacist to go. How's this stupid Indian gonna know anything, right? When he knows everything.
Right.
And I'll tell you how I know that, because the greatest. One of the greatest archaeologists, quote unquote, Linda Shealy, broke that. She said, fuck that. I'm going to bring them here and they're going to show me how to walk up this temple. And then I'm going to compare it to my notes.
Ruben, it's always a woman. It's always a woman doing shit that men has just been fucking sitting around flipping their fucking shit, doing nothing, you know? Like
she didn't want to claim ownership of this.
Yeah, but that's what women are, man. Women are creators without fucking ego, you know? And it's like, God, thank God they make babies. But could you imagine if we were the ones carrying babies, how fucked up this society would be? Like,
well, I mean, I think our quest as men is to find the balance in that and understand that, you know, we carry wisdom as well. But the men carry wisdom too, because I mean, those abuelos that they retain a lot of information. If it wasn't for Linda Shealy's groundbreaking work, here's their groundbreaking
bless
work.
Her, man. Bless her just being her.
Here's your groundbreaking work, Armando and Daniel. She asked the old guy. She asked the old guy from the community that lived 2 miles away from the temple. He said, hey, bring that 80-year-old and let's see what he knows. Well, fuck, he knows everything. He knows that on this certain day, Venus comes in and shows its face. On this day, the fucking solstice sun comes over here. On this day, this temple was made for that. All of a sudden, they have a plethora of knowledge when they let their white supremacist bullshit down. And that's my point. We have to break colonial perspective. You got to
But I
take,
mean,
you got to do what you do, Daniel. And that's why I bring you on the show, is because I know you don't have a PhD in Nawa anything, but I know you know a lot. And we
well,
talk
the thing
about
is
it
that
all the time.
because I don't really, there's nobody that I say, hey, do I know enough now what for you? You know, fuck that. I'm on my own shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to be better than I was yesterday, you know, trying to learn more. And honestly though, Rube, I learned a lot what I knew, because then I only know what I know. Fuck, when I speak, I'm not learning anything. You know, there's nothing. It's just a regurgitation of what's already on my file. But if I can stimulate somebody and show them something, like, oh, then they flip it back. It's like, oh, damn, because man, when I worked with the kids, they taught me so much, and that was such a great inspiration. You know, people that are just, you know, because the thing is that, man, there's so many people, like native people, that just have, you know, incredible minds, incredibly creative people, and they're creative and they're doing their shit amidst being fucking sought down, not being able to go public, having being locked up. And like, could you imagine? Because I've always said, man, just fucking leave us alone, man. Just let us be on our land. Like, you guys got to take all the land. None of us got to do that. You know, we had to work and earn back all the land that was supposed to be ours, you know? And so,
and that's another point that I like to bring up, is that we have to break the colonial perspective that they took anything. They took a lot. But they really took our faith in our own ways. Because I remember going into the lodge and being scared shitless, like the sweat lodge. The deepest ceremony that I've ever did when I was 18 years old. I never stepped into any native anything. It was just like, you're coming with me. You're like, you're coming with me. Where am I going?
Talk about throwing you in the fire.
Yeah, we're gonna go see Chief Lawnwalker.
Dude, that guy's hard.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm down. I'm a revolutionary. Let me see. Right. And then boom, whoa. My spirit wakes up, my blood wakes up, and I'm on this path. You know? And so, hey, I totally lost my perspective, but anyway.
No, dude, but hey, you know, Walker's the real. I mean, like,
yeah.
Went out to that reservation, you know, because I was in Cal. I give it up to them. You know, I mean, people that just, you know, they're in their lane. They're native people. They're native people, and man, because the thing is, I don't know if you remember, but when we had the store at Danahuak, I told the homies, I said, I want our murals to just be what it looked like before the invasion, you know, and I want it to be strongly feminine. I want to see all the, you know, and so, you know, and that was a good presence that we had there, you know, but again, too, it's just the places and spaces need to be filled with those images, you know, because
I know where I was going with what I was saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
But when you said Law Walker, it's like when I said breaking colonial perspective, when I went into that lodge, I already knew, wow, there's something way more powerful than books here.
Right.
There's something that's far more powerful than what I can learn or what someone can teach me, whether it be a medicine man. And don't get me wrong, I respect every single one. I respect Masatzin, I respect her Chief Lawnwalker, I respect Uncle Al. They're my uncles. I will always be there. If they ask me to take out the trash, I'm the first one to go there and take out the trash. You know what I mean? That's how much respect I have for these individuals. But also, like what you said, Daniel, is that we have to take responsibility for our own road and our own education on whatever it is. We take what our uncles tell us, but don't stop there. Don't stop. Yeah. Oh, wow, I'm just going to meditate on what my uncle told me. No. Take that and go, I want to add to it.
No, you're right. And I actively pursued, you know, I went to Mexico. I went to the temples. I went to the schools. Like I went to those places, and no one was saying, hey, I'm going to teach you about this. Now you got to go and you got to ask the right question and get sent in the right place. And like,
and now it's just, you know, the math, you know, the meanings, you know, and that's everybody's quest. That's everybody's quest. Right. There's not going to be hopefully in 100 years, in maybe 200 years, we'll have universities where we have a system.
Right.
But for now, we have to be sovereign and remain sovereign in our own evolution, in our own.
Well, I think too, Ruben, a lot of it's love, man. And you just, fuck, people don't get that. People don't get that the Mexica were love, and they were good at just being in love with nature, with song and dance, with education, with the astronomy. Like it just, the thing is that for the men, it was a great system. We went out and worked, and the women ran shit, and we got to just, we got to be men, and then these guys came and fucked it up, and so, it's going to be a long way getting back to that, but it's beginning to start. It's part of prophecy.
Yeah.
Because these fools are all out of place. This
Yeah.
isn't Europe. We're not on Europe. And I'm not trying to put anybody down by saying that, because you can be of European descent here, and that's even better because you have an origin and you have something to say. My people do this. Oh, cool. We do this, instead of saying, oh, you don't speak English? Like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
I think our ancestors were correct in the saying that I mean, if you even just look at how the Europeans just came and started taking things just because of a paper that they wrote, and then people that live in Middle America, like going, hey, you know what? We could use that same tactic and just keep going.
You're funny.
Like
Hey, the
we'll
thing
just
is,
make
Ruben,
it manifest destiny, not
Right,
doctrine
right.
of discovery, but now it's
The thing
manifest
is, Ruben,
destiny.
I think though too, I've seen in my travels, and I've met a lot of people, Ruben, and I think it's so hard to just label all white people. And I mean, again,
No, I'm
but I
not
think
doing that. That's
but
not
no,
what.
not you. But I'm going to bring it up that I think that people who call themselves white people, okay, that's one thing. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of an acknowledgement of being white. Whereas I think I grew up, and my most meaningful relationships and friendships came with Europeans that were born here, or just they were people that had European culture and said, "Oh, well, I'm Swiss. Well, I'm German," and they're like, "Oh shit, okay." And they were just different. They weren't, to me, they were not white people at all. They were German and Swiss, and I thought, man, those people are hella cool, because they also looked at me and they weren't threatened by me. They were like, "Oh wow, do you speak?" Like, oh man, like it just was a nice interaction, and I felt blessed because, man, I'm lucky that my dad, we have a gardening service here, in the Silicon Valley. And so my dad, he worked with well educated, well intended, and really good people. And a lot of them were white, and I mean, and so I grew up not seeing them as demons or anything. I mean, few times we'd get in trouble just because we were at the house, or something. But we didn't look at them and think, because I really didn't, honestly, Ruben, experience or understand racism till like, man, maybe Little League. I started to really get the feel of it. But then when I got to college, oh my God, and everyone just said, "Ah, yeah, dude, you ain't American, you're Mexican." And I mean, I was like, huh, I kind of tripped.
Yeah, the world just got a little bit smaller. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
but the thing is, Ruben, it was some cowboy telling me this, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, really?" Like I just have to trip out off it, Like,
I mean, I think when we're confronting this topic, it's not to go and point a finger at individuals that have a certain perspective, because everybody should. And I'd rather a white supremacist be like, "I'm white supremacist, I hate you, fucking whatever." And I would, at least I go, "I know too, cool, stay over there. If you come close to me, we might have some issues. But if you stay over there, I'm good." And they have enough respect to be like, "Oh yeah, you stay over there then too. All right, cool, we're cool, then good." But to do it like maliciously, condescending,
well, the thing is,
and not even know that you're doing it. Not even. I used to have conversations, when I owned my company, Daniel.
Right.
I used to have conversations with white people who feel like they were, "Oh, why did you get offended?" Or what? Like, what did I say? It's like, dude, you don't even see what you're saying. Are you hearing yourself talk? Are you hearing yourself talk? Like, I used to get confronted a lot because I didn't have a degree, yet I was a master at dealing with people with autism.
Right. Well, the thing is, Ruben, look at you just, and the irony here is my homie here that at the place here. He's a white guy, but I don't consider John to be white. He's John. I mean, he's not the white guy, But I have to say too that my friend John is like, man, a true bohemian. He's my wax guy. So I mean, he's just on a different level. Like he's so experienced and life traveled that, man, people that travel and have knowledge, they can't be racist. It's not part of their parent, their DNA. Because it just, I think sometimes racism is a mental disability, because it leaves you to not explore or do things or write things off, and it's just in a
My
world
take on
that's really-
racism, my take on racism is just like what some white lady, she put out a video, is taught. Racism
right,
is taught.
right. No, definitely, definitely.
You gotta teach a kid, because sometimes when you're of a racist or whatever family or whatever, or you have these undertones in your family, but you don't say them out loud. They're just kind of spoken, like, hey, that's wrong, or you shouldn't be hanging out with that guy. He didn't go, oh, screw nigger, like, white supremacist by Hitler. He was just more like, just, I don't like you hanging out with that guy. Oh, why? Why? Oh, I just don't like you hanging out with that guy. And that's hidden. That's like suppressed. That's like entitled things. Like it's like we have to deal with it on so many levels. But here's where I think the strongest weapon of it all is to break the colonial perspective where they're superior to you. They're not.
Right.
Everyone can learn a trade, learn something and do something, whatever it is. Paint a picture, start a school, whatever it is. That's where I feel like we need to inspire our community to look at those great monuments, to look at the great structures, to look at the great artwork and start to recreate it for your own community.
I agree, Ruben.
A lot of people do it.
I agree, Ruben, but I struggle right now with my nephew and some young people that I talk to, and it seems like their whole world is just money right now, like just capital, and just
us. We were the same. I was the same way. I gotta admit.
Well, I don't know if maybe I was too, Ruben, but like, man, what a dumbass I was, Jesus. Like the thing is that I think it's just to want money and not know where it came from, or to want money and not know where the next one's coming, like, because to me, the Mexica, we didn't have money. So it isn't why we do what we do. And so when I meet people who call themselves Mexica and they love that dollar so much, like, man, they don't seem to me to sync very well. Because I think of the challenge of being Mexica today is just a lot of what life throws at us, to maintain our philosophy, but I don't think it's hard when you know what you believe in. But I think when you're broke, man, the society forces you sometimes to have to make decisions and moves that you normally wouldn't do, in a society where if the money wasn't having to be there, and so I just think that's, because money was really made to create the ownership of people, it's and the ownership of things. And
then, when I look at that situation, I look at it in a way that's like, we have to contrast our past, right? So when we look at me, we go, wow, that's an easy thing to deal with if we use our perspective in the proper sense, not gain money and put it somewhere,
right?
But more like diversify this funds, diversify. Oh, wow, I like that interest. I'm really good at this. I'm really good at that. I know this person.
Right.
And as you diversify, you're creating, right? It's not like our ancestors just went, yeah, let's just put up 2 temples right there. That's a good place. No, they had to create something, and it was dedicated to something, and it faced a certain direction, and it had a certain dynamic, and it had a certain number. It was revolving around math and time.
Right.
When we break colonial perspective, we'll learn to appreciate time. When we learn to appreciate time, we won't give it away for paper or digital.
Well, that's a good point. And I think I think I read somewhere recently that a very wealthy individual said that, your time is important. And if you manage to have time, you might be more rich than you realize. And I really agree with that. I think it's, because also we're the people that began to track time. Time was important to us.
And that's what I said this on a podcast previously. It's like, if anyone should be having time flow through their fingers, it shouldn't be us.
Right.
Not when we came up with this documented time, right? This broken down into 18-minute increments, broken down into certain energies of nature. Why? Through 26,000 years of observation. 26,000 years of focused observation. That's longer than the Vatican's.
Right. Well,
right. They have what, 2,000 years of information supposedly.
Well, Ruben, if you think about it too, those of us that are cannabis people, you think about, and I always say this, man, the sun is free all day, every day, and asks for nothing in return. So if we can take that energy and make this plant, because they were already doing that before the invasion. Like, think about it, they had extra everything. And now we have, extra nothing. Like, how did it happen? Well, we changed our mindset. Women no longer run shit, like a lot of things, and so, but we could move back to that, but we just have to do it slowly, and I guess
Yes.
a famous saying is you got to be the change that you want to see,
Mm-hmm.
and so,
Exactly. It's not. I always tell people, like, that this is a 500-year walk back.
yes,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
a
that's the way to
5
see it,
years, it's not a 10
right,
years. So we are the ones that are inspiring this great understanding and change, and
right,
using these focal points to help us to know that each of those teocalis or pyramids are prayers.
right,
There's a deer in there. There's somebody there. Somebody
right,
special is in there. They
right,
found jaguars in the corners of the Temple of the Moon. They found
right.
certain offerings that
Hey,
are
Ruben,
special.
and I'll take it even further. And this is what happens a lot of times: is that natives, we have a philosophy and we believe those places are sacred.
Mhm.
Well, back in the 80s, the Russians took an X-ray of the planet and they found that where all the temples are, or stronger solar energy comes in there,
Mm.
and so there was already an energy that was entering those places before modern science acknowledged that they were places, the
Mhm.
natives already knew. And if you think about it, New Mexico,
Mm.
heavy native, especially all the places where the UFOs are sightings,
Mm.
heavily, native territories, I mean, granted the whole land's native, but this is places where they held ceremonies and where they um, practiced their way of, communing with nature. And
And that's
so,
why I look at history not as something that's going to be given to me by a book or a documentary, but more of my own digestion of my own life, right? Because your
right,
own life
right.
is we don't know how old our life is, right?
Well, I
Until
mean,
we start
right, but
getting to those points of reflection and
yeah,
understanding. And even when you do know whatever you know, it's only for you, and how you articulate it is your art. Wow, I really
right,
like that guy, the way he treats his women. Well, it's a part of me. It's a lot of reflection. It's a lot of referencing back to our ancestors who really revered women's decisions and their role in our community. They weren't minimized, but
right.
neither were men. Men were revered for their intelligence, their will, their ability to give and love unconditionally. That's
Well,
I feel like our role is, because I'm doing that with my children.
right. Well, I
And
mean,
no one
you're
taught
a
me
good
that.
you're a good father, Ruben. You do good with your kids, and I think you do something that, like for me, as much as I've traveled and I've done, I never had a partner to sit down and say, okay, these are the seeds, and whereas you guys, you went through the work and put the seeds down, and so, like, part of our movement is to repopulate the land, and I mean, that's where ultimately, Ruben, I know we're going to be okay, because if we love our families and we go to work and we work hard, we're going to be here 10 years from now in a bigger family. Whereas those people that are, like you're talking about, they may not even be here, let alone have kids,
Mhm,
and so,
mhm,
it's definitely, we see into the future, and I mean, I think of it too as like, we have commitments. Like, I have a commitment to my dad. I have a commitment to my family, things that
mhm,
I've committed. And so that's why, it's just a personal commitment. It's not something that I'm out on the internet going, well, I take care of my dad. Could you pat me on the back? No, man.
mhm,
It's like, shit, I'm just doing that because it's what I do. You know what I mean? It's like, I love
mhm.
chocolate, man. You don't have to
You
tell
love
me, hey,
them.
man, you eat
You
chocolate
love them.
today,
You love
like,
them, and life is long. It's not
yes,
perfect.
yeah. Well, life's a marathon, Ruben. It's not a sprint, and too many people want to live it. And even myself, sometimes I want to sprint, but fuck, I ain't as young as I used to be, But it's just, knowing your place, knowing what your limits are, and at least for me, trying to do better, and then just like trying to make someone's day a little better, or trying to do things a little, like, it just, we're very, at least I feel very blessed. I feel blessed to have a lot of good opportunities. I feel blessed that right now my garden is doing good. A lot of my loved ones, I've been struggling with my niece, had a few mental issues that I think that we're kind of entering that too, because none of us have perfect lives, but it's just, it's appreciating what you've got, working on what you want to improve, but if I just sit here, just think about what I don't have, God, what a fucked up life that would be. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well,
It's just, I struggle with people that complain, bro. And it's like, well, dude, go do something. Like, man, it's
that's the one thing on the show that I try to point out to people, and breaking the colonial perspective, breaking that elitism, or that European understanding that I'm better, right? When you're
Well,
better,
yeah, I mean,
you
the
take
things,
from others, and you take from things because you're better. But when you
Ruben, how
look
can
at
we
life,
say
when you look at life,
it's such a whack comparison to say better? We're just different, you know?
but when you look at life in a way that is always a challenge, in other
Right.
words,
Of
I
course.
know what it's like to have 4 children, Daniel,
Right.
because
Right.
and at
Right.
different stages, and to worry about them in every one of those stages. From my 5-year-old being very alert at the park and going, okay, I need to keep my eyes on him because he can run off and do something.
Right. That breaks
From
it
my
down simple.
from my teenager to
Right.
going, my teenager not being socially active and he's in his 13s and 14s, and how am I going to inspire his
Oh my
imagine
God.
like
Are you
these
talking
like
about TechBot?
yeah.
Oh
And then you got
man.
my 18-year-old, Charlotte, who is like venturing off in the world on trains to, Magic Mountain on his own. He's
I
learning how
love
to
that guy.
drive. It's
Charlotte.
but out of all those things, I never expect no problems. I have
You're,
to be aware
you're funny.
and see it. And that's what I do when I'm with my kid at the park. Hey, don't go so far. I got you. I'm here.
Right.
Hey, Charlotte, pay attention to the road. You're
Right.
driving now. This is a responsibility. At all these levels, I'm aware and never feeling like, ooh, this is gonna be an easy life and I love it. And that elitist colonial perspective where I just gotta hire somebody to do it for me and I have a really good life. You see, look, I could leave my trash here and someone will pick it up, and my clothes
You're
over
funny.
there, someone will
That's
wash
true,
it.
Ruben. Those are all things I think sometimes we do take for granted.
Yeah,
I would agree.
yeah. I mean, I really feel that life is not supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be
Right.
as difficult as hard. And that's why I'm glad they gave us the challenge when
Right.
they came over here across those oceans, because I'm going to break the colonial perspective that they were the only ones that they came over here,
Right.
because they weren't. They weren't that smart. They weren't that brilliant. I'll bet it on anything that it wasn't just the Vikings that came over here.
No,
I
of course
bet it
not.
on anything that I bet you Egyptians, I bet you people from Thailand, I bet you people from the Hawaiians, they were crossing this ocean like crazy. You just used violence and a false story to conquer everything and everyone.
Right.
And you said, we're the ones that did it. We are the brave guys that crossed the ocean and found the new world when there was 65 million people here already.
Right. Well,
You were
Ruben, we don't even call it the conquer anymore. We call it the invasion, man. Call it what it
invasion,
was.
exactly.
Bro, it wasn't conquering, And so the thing is, how is it a conquering when we welcome you in and like we turn around, bam, we get a knife in our back, like shit. Like that's no type of welcome, But Ruben, I was gonna share with you too
You
that
made me spill the Jamaica, bro. How is that a conquering? We
like,
let you in the front door,
yeah,
and we
bro,
fed
like, come
you,
on.
we
The
cleaned
thing is,
you
too,
up,
the
we
thing
gave
is
you
too, look,
supplies.
I was gonna say, Ruben, I feel too very blessed, man, super blessed by people, in particular Native people that took the time to say, hey, man, I like what you're doing, and this is right, just supporting me at a time when, man, I just was taking a risk, and like, luckily, Ruben, few people, and some people did try to put me in check early on in my, when I had a Nawak tell me, oh, you're selling out. I'm just like, fuck yeah, I'm sold out, dude. You can't buy any of my shit. Yeah, I've sold all my shirts, and just like trying to tell, and so it's just interesting, Ruben. People look at you and they throw out what's inside of them, so my point is that first Native at a Mother's Day that gave me, set me aside and say, hey, Dan, you're doing a good thing. And he gave me a gift, and that gift was a medicine gift. And so, man, I'll never forget that, and just like, taking time aside and taking that too, for me, Ruben, in my life, I've realized like, man, when I see brown people that look like me, I managed to do my best to be just a little more patient, man, because fuck, dude, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have that trauma. I know what it's like. Like, I live in Sunnyvale, California. I've been harassed, pulled at gunpoint, like, man, totally just, man, the cops hate me in Sunnyvale, but I've never been arrested for nothing, man. They're still trying to get me for shit, but you know what? You just, what I mean? You just keep going. You can't, like, what I mean? I don't live in that, the fuck the cops. Well, I say it when I see them, but I don't see them all the time. I try to think about it. But I'm just saying, like, it's just, people look at you and, I just live in a city where people who look like me are the people that commit crimes, in their opinion, but
or the people that work in their yard or
well,
clean their
yeah.
house
No,
or
but I live in
fix their
Sunnyvale.
car.
I live in Sunnyvale. In Sunnyvale, they've killed more people in Sunnyvale than been murdered in Sunnyvale. And then all the people that they've murdered look like me. And so, yeah, when you're in Sunnyvale and a Sunnyvale cop comes up on you, that's possibly someone who's murdered somebody, and who's murdered someone who looks like you. And so, but again, too,
And
it's
that's my whole point, though. That's my whole point of breaking colonial perspective, in the sense that we put ourselves in this situation by living and not having the
Oh my God.
ingenuity, having the ingenuity to create our own communities where they're safe. You know what I mean? Like we by default we start creating these communities that are poor and that are like-minded, but then the kids are so poor they start robbing each other and hurting each other because they're in this very ugly, poor state, right? But then you go, well, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go live in a good neighborhood, and then now you have the bully cops that are like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Why? Are you,
oh my God!
what do you live here for?"
That's the story of my life, because where I live in Sunnyvale, they used to call it Tortilla Flats. It was considered like the poor neighborhood. But the thing is, it was on county land, so all of our plots were like half-acre plots. Well, today you got people just coming in, bulldozing these little flat houses and building mansions. And it's like, we're in the face of Apple. And so everyone wants to live here. And so you're right. I definitely, people trip out like, what? You live in Sunnyvale? Like, yeah, I've grown up in Sunnyvale. Like, yeah, shit, I grew up. I remember being called dirty Mexican in Little League and like, fuck, I was like, hey, I'm American. No, you ain't. Dan, you're Mexican. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. Okay, well, all right. Well, just an early, decolonization. Like shit. But luckily my parents, my dad was, a hardworking guy, and my mom's educated, and so, fuck, man, I feel blessed.
Well, I mean, I love the fact. I love your story, Daniel. We grew up at the same time, in the sense that I was putting out El Vuh music as you were putting out Danahuak clothing, and Danahuak clothing was always impressive to me because it came with the story, came with the pamphlet, came with the description of what you were wearing.
Right.
And I felt like that's what we were doing with the music. It's like,
I feel the same way. You were singing about the shit that I was trying to educate people about.
Yeah, we're doing hip hop, but we're not going to just do hip hop. We're going to do hip hop with a message and a certain understanding and a certain road. We don't have the answers. We just know it's a road that you could follow. And that road, it doesn't have easy, plateaus. It actually has very steep mountains and rugged terrain. But when you learn how to master this road, then you can carry a family along with you through this rough terrain and still feel like it's a good experience. And I just feel like that's what our ancestors did, is someone who takes the time to put these 18-minute increments in place and put these energies, that's a lot of dedication. That's a lot of, persistence. But and Ruben, I feel like that's what it takes to conquer this road.
But it's love, Ruben. It's love. Love's the only thing that can conquer hate, and it'll conquer all other things too. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, I'd say too, I haven't mentioned her, but man, I have 2 dogs, and Omi's my love and my joy. Man, having a dog has been like unconditional love. I mean, I worry about her sometimes, but man, it's been a real warm thing having a dog. It's just.
Well, they say that the Xolots, right? The Xolots are the guides, right?
Yes.
So you always have this bond and guide with you. Wow.
For sure.
Daniel, thank you for coming on our show, bro, and sharing your wisdom. I always like to invite you because you have a large amount of knowledge. You lecture at universities, but you do not have a PhD. You have heart and love and respect for who we are and to share that. And you also take the time for people who maybe disagree with you and you still give them an opportunity to have this dialogue and come to the conclusion that, we're brothers and sisters. And at the end of the day, that's what we're going to be. We're both going to have the same brown skin. We're both going to have that same ancient relationship that we have with the sun. So thank you for coming on, bro, and sharing your story and sharing your wisdom about Venus and how it's the ratio is from 8 to 5,
Yeah, bro. And there's so much more because, bro, that's just the West.
Right. Yeah. We're going to get you back on and share more of your wisdom with you. I mean, share more wisdom with our community.
Right.
But
And I just hope that, I hope people out there aren't offended by the shit I say, man, because I'm just trying to speak the truth. And fuck, man, when you live in truth, it's just such a better way to live.
I mean, I think we need to re-understand what being offended is, because yeah, man, we can't walk around. That's what I'm trying to break colonial perspective, because we don't live in this utopic state where everyone's going to say the right things all the time.
Right.
Sometimes people aren't educated in certain areas, and that is your job to go, hey, you know what, brother? I'm not going to say anything. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to let you be you. Just be you.
Hold your tongue.
Yeah, be you, sure. Be you, and not be offended, and know that, hey, the next time I seen him, hey, you know, that he bought me an agua fresca, and we started talking about this and that, and it was a whole nother conversation.
Right.
We cannot afford to wait another 100 years for us to become a community again.
Right.
That is already
the time is now.
Should be implemented now. But thank you for being a part of our community, Daniel. You'll be back soon.
All right, brother.
We'll figure all those things out. Remember, June 25th.
Thank you, Daniel.
All right, man. Say hi to the family for me.
Absolutely, Daniel.
All right, man. Peace.
So that was Daniel from Danahuak Clothing.
That's the legend himself.
Yeah, brother. I mean, we're gonna break it down on our Patreon and have some really dope episodes with Daniel. Like I said, we're creating this new movement, and not only was I reflecting about, you know, the issues that we were dealing with, but I also saw these two links, man, that were really that I felt like I needed to have my opinion placed on it, right? Because, you know, I was scrolling up IG, and there was one link where this kid was wearing a Mexican flag, right? And they didn't give him his diploma, right? Well, can we let them? Could they hear it? We're gonna show you it, and then I'll give you my opinion, because it's important. It's all relating.
We'll run this back.
I looked at it. I know you did that, and that was approved. There's some other. I don't know what's approved in one. Right. So we're gonna have a conversation.
I don't care. Bye.
I've been here with 20 of you.
Sir, listen. If that was the case, then why didn't you take the diploma off of that girl? Look. No. Hey, and you see her? That's very Mexican too, and she already have her diploma and the dress too.
I can't answer that. What I'm telling you is. I'm with you guys right now instead of going to find. It had to be different, you know?
You see? But I'm just saying, like, the same thing. So why should we be accountable? And the other world,
wow.
So the situation happened is that this kid wears a Mexican flag, tries to go up to stage, and they didn't hand him his diploma. I guess the superintendent felt that it was not appropriate to wear a Mexican flag and receive a diploma. I don't have a problem with him not giving him the diploma. I have a problem with us begging for that goddamn diploma. Why are we begging for somebody to go, please give it to me? Oh, look, it doesn't matter. Look at her. Why are we even caring? I understand that people migrate here, they get a better life and this, but don't expect white supremacists not to be white supremacists. And if you expect them to be bald-headed, shouting in your face that you're a spick, no, they do it like this. Like, I'm going to hear what you're going to say, and I don't really care what you have to say, because I rule this land, and I rule this. I'm the superintendent. I'm the one that's going to tell you that you're not going to get your diploma. I don't give a shit what you say. That's still white supremacy.
And that infamous hand, stop.
Right? Like, listen to him. He's all, I heard what you have to say. There's 10 people. That means you're ignorant. You're not educated. You're not on my level. Why are you in my face? I'm still not giving you your diploma. Right? But I bet you if there was a reporter, he didn't give a shit about the social media shit. But if there was a Channel 7, what? You're not going to give him a diploma because he wore this? It would be a different story. But he's in front of the moms of this kid who are peasant class citizens. Listen to him very carefully. I don't have to hear what you have to say, right? Didn't it sound like that, Armando? I don't have to hear what you had to say.
I just want to make him proud, you know?
Thursday evening at his Ashboro High School graduation, the 18-year-old decided to wear the flag around his shoulders.
I got to the gym and I was sitting down. I was sitting beside a bunch of teachers. I threw it on. They didn't tell me anything till I got to the stage.
This video is from Lopez's cousin Adolfo Hurtado in the stands. You can see Lopez walk past the teachers. In this angle on the school live stream, you can see the principal shake her head the moment she sees Lopez. Then, as he starts to walk across the stage, she asks him to remove the flag before she hands him his diploma holder.
White supremacy.
And she's like, you can't be wearing that. And I was in shock, you know? I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you can't be wearing that flag. It's a distraction. I was like, no way, you're telling me this right now.
A school district spokesman says their graduation dress code is...
I mean, for me, if they would have told my kid, oh, I'm not giving you a diploma, I would have said, let's go. We're done here then. I'm not going to fight for a diploma that they don't want to give me. They're already telling you who you are. You cannot do what you want. You have to wear a blue robe like everyone else here. Everyone else here is in line. Why aren't you in line? Well, I completed my credits. Isn't the diploma just a completion of credits and academic achievement, and you get a paper saying that? Not what you're going to be wearing to receive it. Why are you getting so upset about what he's wearing to receive it? But if I was him, I'm giving you a message. Don't give a shit. You already got it.
Especially if it's a public school. Aren't you not paying taxes for that?
Whatever it is, it's just blatant white supremacy. I wanted to highlight it on our show because that is white supremacy. I don't want to hear what you have to say, and you didn't listen to what I had to say, which is take that off.
You know, comes to find out, it made it this morning on Good Morning America.
Right. Because they're trying to prove a point. They're trying to prove a point. They're trying to prove a point. You are not who you think you are. Right? And they're trying to pull it out. Well, what do people think? Right? And you got the people that can afford nice houses going, that's a disrespect to the U.S. Right? It's not a disrespect to the U.S. It's a young kid finding some inspiration in whatever it was and show his family that I come from this place. Now, I'm not defending the flag of Mexico because they're all colonizers. I am a native sovereign. But that boy took a sovereign decision, made a sovereign decision, and questioned authority. That him completing math, science, all that stuff had nothing to do with receiving that diploma. It had to do, you ain't getting it because you didn't take this off. And how dare you come up here and do that? How dare you distract everyone else? That's white supremacy.
You know, I have a lot of friends that teach in the public school system. I personally would have been disgusted if I found out one of them treated a student this way.
Come on, man. That's white supremacy. And I'm not, it doesn't come from, the lady was Mexican. Well, she's white supremacist too, because she's falling in line. This is not good, big ups to him.
So the other argument is, well, it's their patriotism.
Their patriotism to what? To U.S., right? When it comes to the U.S., who stole land, who murdered people in the name of a Bible, right? Who kidnapped people, who went into other homes and raped a woman, and then the man said, "Hey, police, this man raped my wife." Oh, he's white. Oh, well, you don't have any merit to press charges on a white man. This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this, bro. You cannot wear the flag. What do you mean? You mean, did I pass my math class? Yes. Did you pass your science class? Yes. Did I get all the credits I needed to walk on the stage? Yes. Why the fuck does it matter what I wear? I had completed your shit. Well, you ain't getting it anyways. That's white supremacy. And it shouldn't be like include me. It should be thank you very much, and we're going to do our story about it. We're going to go on social media. We're going to go outside your school and we're going to, hey, you know what? My kid got disrespected by like this. How much more of a statement would have that been instead of begging to be included?
I'm proud of that kid for not bending the knee.
Absolutely. 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 This is a sovereign individual, and be prepared because a lot of our children are going to start acting that way because you can't keep telling children that the white man is the only one who crossed the ocean and it be not true.
I want to reach out to the youngster and possibly get him on the show.
Get him on, bro. Let's talk about that decision. Let's talk about that decision because that decision was strong.
I love his statement. He was like, there's no way they're telling me this right now.
Yeah. Like, that's how clever white supremacy is. Everybody thinks that white supremacy is this thing that's in your face. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's, I don't want to hear what you have to say because you're lower than me. You didn't go to college. I'm the superintendent of this whole district. How dare you ask me that question?
And just like how Daniel said, and to reiterate it, and like we always say in almost all of our podcast episodes, it's not including all white people.
It's including that person that doesn't take compassion in that other individual's pain or confusion, right? Hey, young man, nice statement. Next, right? That's it. No one's going to do an uproar. The Trump supporters aren't going to go bang down your door, superintendent. You didn't have compassion. You didn't have love. You didn't acknowledge a person of color's already dysfunctional situation. You made it worse. That's white supremacy. I just want to point that out. I have another thing that I want to talk about, though, too. You know,
I remember when I graduated high school and I walked just like that kid. They gave me my diploma holder. It wasn't necessarily my diploma.
Oh, shit.
I think they eventually mail it to you or they hand it to you like outside of that ceremony.
Yeah.
I personally never received my diploma because I was 10 credits shy on a math course.
Right.
Stupid of me on never going back, but I just never needed my diploma. But I do encourage kids to maintain and go to school and get those good grades.
Well,
you know, I'm not here to tell anyone school's a bad thing. For me, I never leveraged it. I never needed it. That's my opinion.
I mean, I have a whole other opinion. I think that, you know, schools can be bad because they're set up by Carnegie, Rockefeller, and anyone else who decides to bid for your children's 15 years of education to lead them to a certain path.
So we have a comment from Azteca, Maya Danzante. Well, he said if it was an American flag, no one would have said anything.
Absolutely not. Oh, it would have been cheers. Everybody would have stand up and roared for that brave achievement of displaying a flag that describes the theft, the land theft of all natives, 500 treaties that they never, ever honored, just the rape of our women and no one caring. I mean, it goes on and on and on, all in the name of superiority, right? A philosophy. And that doesn't, you know, I want to make very clear, it's not just white people, because there's a lot of brown people who feel the same way. They feel like I drive my Beamer. I don't give a shit about your poor ass, right? It's a philosophy, brother. It's a philosophy that we bend our knee to quietly and sometimes even subconsciously, but not anymore. Not for me. Not after I find out that you're trying to rule a land after you murdered people. I don't respect murderers, and I will call you to your face if you're trying to fucking defend it. I don't defend that. You're not gonna sit here and tell me, "Oh, the U.S. did so much good, and look at the progress, and look at the whatever's." Here, let's give you a good example. Let's give you another example, right? Of what colonial settlers do, right? I love Richie. 1492 posted this, right? He posts, this is what 215 kids look like. Regarding and referring to the 215 bodies, the mass grave that they found at the residential school in Canada, right? That the royals frequent to do their philanthropy, right? And then people go, oh, well, the elites, they don't do bad things like eat kids. I'm not saying that that's what they do. I'm just saying that there was an article that I read over 6 years ago about the ninth circle, right? It's an elite of individuals that are on the ninth circle. They like represent nine somethings, and how they used to use residential kids or orphaned kids for their ritual purposes. I'm not saying that's what's happening. Don't get all conspiracy thingy, whatever. You do your own research. You believe what you want to believe. Remember, this is a sovereign show. But I do know one thing. 215 dead kids on residential school land.
When I found out about this, the first reaction was like, for me, it's not 215 kids.
Probably more.
It's thousands of kids.
I'm sure it is. You're right.
You know, what's the narrative behind...
Those are the ones they found.
What's the narrative behind, honing in on this specific school/church?
Right.
Uh-huh. Why are all the mainstream media outlets picking it up?
Because they want to go
out of nowhere.
Because they want to go, look, there was only one bad one.
Exactly.
There was only, look, that one is the horrible one. Oh my God, I can't believe. Wow. But I bet you, I love what Richie throws another post up there, and he's like, all these residential school properties need to be excavated. Imagine if they would have, if anybody takes wind to that and puts action to it. And that's our job. Our job is to investigate. Yeah, our job. The descendants of those murdered children. We need to investigate however we can. When we knock on the door and they're like, no, sorry, you can't come on our property, then we find a way to do it using our creativity.
So apparently, from what I heard, nuns would come and take children just away from parents.
For whatever reason. It was like, okay, back in the day in East LA.
That's the most terrifying thing. Imagine seeing nuns coming to your door and just trying to take away your children.
For any reason. Like, it would be
insane.
It would be like this. For Native children, it would be like this, Armando. I've heard some stories, right? It's like, oh, the neighbor called the sheriff and said that they were arguing loudly and you could hear them. So the sheriff would go on there and go, were you guys arguing? Oh, there's a kid here? Oh, I got to take this kid. There's an open beer can over there. This is domestic violence. I'm going to take him, right? And what they don't know is that the state gets paid. So the child that they remove from the home goes into a group home. That group home owner gets a certain amount of money from the state. So it's sanctioned kidnapping, really what it is. Because they don't offer any services to the parents. And, if they do, it's very minimal. And they're already going through pain. The poverty, the everything else.
This was the first thing I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Search them all.
Search them all.
And
mandated.
What was even worse is like, that's Canada. Can you imagine what happened here?
Yeah. Yeah. This is just to point out their thought process on how they were going to get us to this place where we forgot who we were. But guess what? It didn't work. You can't hide from the truth. The truth will always show its head. These children, these 215 bodies that we're going to call 215, but we know there's many, many more. What about the people that they just took from the facility, right? What happened to those kids? This is something that we need to point out so that we can know what angle individuals are trying to defend their intentions with, right? Capitalism, democracy, voting, everything that you think is your right came from and permissioned or sanctioned or they gave you permission through this outlet that stole a lot of land, that displaced a lot of people, and that left people with sometimes not even anything to recognize, which is myself. But that's okay. Uncle Longwalker, a long time ago, put me in a sweat lodge. Uncle Longwalker looked into my eyes and said, "Have you sweated here before?" And I said, "No, sir, I have never sweated in my life." He said, "Maybe in a past life then." And he shut the door. And out came me, with so much love for the people that I come from, but know that there's a lot of tragedy there. And that's okay. I want to be challenged. I want my heart and the love that comes from my heart to contribute to that healing. And we're going to start that June 25th. Catch One, Olmeca, Zero, Sub One, Jag from Cosmic Force,
Nug Life,
Keys, also Motley. We're going to create a social conscious movement that has no leaders, just people who want to contribute, just like our great ancestors. So I hope you enjoyed the show today. I hope I see you on June 25th. Go get your tickets. They're almost done. They're almost out. We're very close to selling out that show already. We got some big announcements coming up at the show. It's our time now. Let's be united. Let's be happy when we see each other. Let's be creative when it comes to contributing to the healing or joining that 500-year walk back, just like our great ancestor said it would. It would be that we would recognize. And recognition isn't just automatically knowing everything. No, it's getting your bundles ready. It's getting your medicine ready. It's gathering your family and taking that long walk. You may not make it there, but your great-grandchildren will make it there if you leave a good intention. And that's all we're doing here on LA Natives. Thank you for letting us be that so far. We have many to go. And I'll see you Wednesday. Get your tickets. Tlasucamatli, Ometeo, Tonantzin, Tonatu, Ometeo.